Hello, Denver, and welcome to our new series called The Weekly Recap, where we will take some time to recap everything that happened during the week in church and then look forward to some things that are coming up. And what a week this one has been. I mean, life has changed so much in the last 7 days. It was only a week ago that Meegan and I went to a cafe to have lunch with the Campbells, and now that's not even possible just 7 days later. Last week, our school district had canceled school all the way up through March 27th, and now, just a few days later, that's changed to April 23rd. So much is happening every single day. We're getting new information, and it is somewhat disconcerting. We had to cancel church last week because we had heard that they were going to recommend that nobody meet in groups of 250, which is what they did last Saturday. Now, 4 days later, the U.S. government issued a report saying that no one should meet in groups of more than 10. And I think it's obvious by this point that there's going to be even more changes coming that we should be ready for. And so we kind of have to equip ourselves emotionally and spiritually to deal with some of these changes. So last week on Sunday, we had our first online service since the COVID virus. And it was great. We went to the Arvada building, and even though it was awkward for me to preach to an empty auditorium where there was no response, and I didn't know if I was being funny or what, I knew that on the other line of all this technology were your faces and your ears, and I think that we did a good job on Sunday. And we followed this up Wednesday by having a midweek for the first time on a huge global, on a very big video conferencing system. And through this video conferencing system, we were able to break up into D groups and have discussions. I could see people's faces there, and some of you were in bed during midweek. Some of you were drinking beer and eating salad, and I could see the kids coming in and out, and it really did feel like I was in everybody's living rooms secretly. And then after the service, we even tried to sing a song, and that didn't go well. I think we can all admit that. But it was fun to be together, and it gives us some semblance of interaction throughout the week. And I think with all this new news happening every day, and we're kind of living in this temporary reality. And we know that this isn't going to be the way things are forever, but it may be this way for weeks, perhaps even months. And it's disconcerting for us. We're a people, we fight against change, and we fight against changing realities. And it's made me think about some of the things that we're studying out in the book of Deuteronomy. And when the Israelites heard for the first time their punishment for their fear and their faithlessness after they sent out the spies, and that their punishment was going to be to wander for 40 years in the desert, they initially rejected this. They fought against this new reality. They geared up for war to go fight the people that they were previously afraid to fight, even though they knew God would not go with them. And the Bible describes that the Canaanites beat them down during that time. And there's no amount of fighting that they could do that was going to change their reality. And there's a sense to that we too have to learn to embrace this temporary reality that we have, and also understand that while everything about now isn't going to be true months from now, like this, some of this stuff is only temporary, there are aspects to life that may change forever. After the 9/11 terrorist attacks, there were some aspects to life that changed forever after that. Going to the airport now is nothing like going to the airport before 9/11. I mean, before 9/11, you could practically just walk in. You didn't have to have a flight or anything. And now the levels of security that you go through to get on a plane is just very different. And so things may change forever, even with this. And we kind of have to prepare ourselves for that, even though that we don't particularly like that. And I think with all of the changing news and all of the turmoil and uproar, I had a conversation with A.T. Arneson, who's one of my friends. He's one of my mentors, and he was talking about Psalm 46, and he had showed me Psalm 46 and how much of that psalm that David wrote, even though it was thousands of years ago, parallels so much of what's going on today. And I wanted to take some time to read that psalm. It says in verse 1, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at the break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see the works of the Lord, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. And in this psalm, you have this theme of things falling down. Specifically, two mega structures that we typically see. First, you have nature, and you have uproaring rivers, and you have earthquakes, and you have mountains falling into the sea. And then secondly, it describes kingdoms falling and human political structures and entities falling apart. And these two things within this psalm are both failing. But there is this stream in the middle of it that makes glad the people of the city of God. And part of what the psalm is saying is that these aspects of life, both the natural world and the human political world, are always going to be in some sort of turmoil. Greater at other times, more peaceful at some times, but they're always going to go back to turmoil at some point. But the people in the city need not see the turmoil. They can always experience the stream. And when I think about that, I know that for me, sometimes it takes these incredible moments of turmoil, this global pandemic virus, for me to be more sober and for me to realize that all of the security that I normally feel in the routine of everyday life, bringing my kids to school, going to a restaurant, going to a grocery store, the freedoms that I have, not even really thinking that much when I'm in a restaurant and I see someone cough. All of these things that I've taken for granted can be taken away in the turmoil of life. And when that stuff is taken away, I only have one place left to turn to for strength, and that is God. And I think he takes these things away from us. We turn to him, and we find new reserves of power and new reservoirs of peace. And maybe that's even why some of these things happen, so that we're forced to turn to God and to rely upon his strength. When in the course of normal everyday life, sometimes we don't feel the need to rely on that strength. And so during this week, I think we have to do our best, obviously, not to panic and not to spread panic, but to find peace that's promised to the people of the city of God. And the rest of the world, they're going to see raging rivers and they're going to see mountains falling into the sea, but that need not be us. We always have the ability, if we cling to God, if we call upon God, to see streams that make our hearts glad. And so I think that's where we need to exist right now, as hard as it is. Being cooped up inside with your family for days and days on end, it can bring about all kinds of simmering frustrations and anger, and everyone gets a little bit jittery and has cabin fever, and we have to do our best in these moments to cling to God so that our kids and our families, they see us in a place of peace. And it may take a fight to get there. It may take getting on your knees and crying and getting to a place of peace, but that's where we need to go right now. That's where God is directing us right now, so that we do not fall apart the way that the rest of the world might. And so as our every day is changing and every day new news is coming in, I think we need to take that as a sign that God wants us to go to him on a consistent basis. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that we have coming up. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to have church at 10:30 online, just like last week. And so you can go to the website, www.denverchurch.org, and click the button that says Church Online, and you'll be directed to online church. You can also watch this from Facebook or from YouTube. So that'll be happening tomorrow morning at 10:30. And then next week, we're going to have a men's midweek and a women's midweek at different times. So the men's midweek will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, and Sonny Ryan will be teaching us. And then the women's midweek will be on Wednesday at 7 p.m. where Meegan Zillman will be teaching us. And again, we're going to do that through a Zoom call. And so if you get on the website, there'll be directions for that when the time for midweek comes. Now, there's something else we really want you to do. All right, on the website, you can sign up to get updates every time we add something to the site, because we're going to be adding all kinds of things to our website. Updates about the COVID-19 virus, but also new videos on a consistent basis. And we're going to have family devotionals on there and activities for families to do as they're all kind of cooped up together. But we're also going to have content for the teens and for the campus and for the singles. And every time we add something on there, we want you to know that it's on there. And if you sign up for these updates, then you'll be apprised every time we add something new. Now, I am hoping that these videos that we do, they just get better and better. And some of us don't know exactly what we're doing. We know that I know that I want to connect with you in some way. And this is one avenue in which we can do that. But we got to make sure that we call each other still, that we're still having our discipling times with one another, either on the phone or through video conference, and that we don't give up on kind of the basic tenets of our faith, even though there are obstacles to doing them. Even evangelism. We've got to make sure that we're online inviting our friends and that we're reaching out to our neighbors to see if they need anything. And if we've got extra and our neighbors have needs, that we do our best to meet those needs, and that we really can be a light upon the hill during this time where there is a lot of darkness for some people. Not everybody has a support group the way that we have with our fellowship and our family. And so let's be for people what they need us to be during this time and take advantage of every opportunity that God gives us. Thank you so much for tuning in to our weekly recap, and we'll see you tomorrow at church. Have a great day.